Hey everyone, you're listening to Goddamn Gamecube, a podcast where we discuss video game franchises and video game industry topics that we're passionate about. This is episode 1 of the Fire Emblem Retrospective. Okay, so I'm really excited. I'm happy to discuss this franchise because I feel like this... I'm laughing already. This is one of the few franchises where all the games are good, even the bad ones. And so this is going to be a more intimate podcast, like the Resident Evil retrospective, where it was only Beppy and I for Resident Evil. Today, I'm your host, Greg, and my brother Nick is here, who is our resident Fire Emblem expert. And so, hello, Nick. Welcome.
Hello, happy to be here.
Dude, yeah, this is. I'm really excited for this one.
I'm excited for this one, too. It's going to be fun.
This is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
So Fire Emblem this franchise has been around. Has this been around since the 80s?
I believe the first one came out in Japan in the 1990s.
Super Nintendo.
Maybe 89.
Super Famicom, really.
Yeah.
So, the first Fire Emblem that America got was technically 7, which you guys might know it as the self-titled Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance. I remember, I'm trying to think back to when I was a kid. I remember playing Super Smash Bros. Melee, and there were characters in it that I didn't know who they were. And is it Roy and Marth?
Yeah, so Roy and Marth were added as unlockable characters to Super Smash Bros. Melee because they were meant to they were going to support the release of Fire Emblem 6 in Japan at the time. We hadn't gotten any of those games.
Right. Oh, that's right. Because just so you know, our audience is clear here, Fire Emblem 7 is the first one we got. Fire Emblem 6 came out around the time of Super Smash Bros. Melee, but we didn't get it. So, but by get it, I mean it was not released in the United States. So I believe, just so people know, Nick and I have played some of the Fire Emblems that were not released here, like Fire Emblem 6 and 5 and all those. And I think Roy and Marth were in 6. Is that right? No, Roy was.
Roy's in Fire Emblem 6. Marth is the very first one.
Marth is the very first one. Okay, so for the sake of this discussion, we're mostly going to be talking about the Fire Emblems that came out in the United States, so 7 through now. So let's start it right off with the self-titled Fire Emblem, which came out on the Game Boy Advance in 2003. So Nick's going to take it away.
Yeah, all right. So I'm pretty excited to talk about this game. Came out way back in 2003. We were a lot younger at the time.
Yeah.
And I had no idea at the time that this series was going to start an unhealthy obsession of mine for the past, 17 years.
Yeah, how long ago was that? Almost 17 years.
Almost 17 years now, yeah. Before we get into that, can I just say how it's really weird how we got a prequel as the first game here in the US?
Yeah, but you wouldn't know that.
You wouldn't know that
you
at the
wouldn't
time.
even know that.
In retrospective.
Yeah.
In retrospect, it is very strange because Fire Emblem 7, aka self-titled Fire Emblem on the GBA, is a prequel of Fire Emblem 6, which came out in Japan only.
I didn't even know that until a year ago, when I actually played the a fan translation of the 6th one.
Yeah, it's pretty weird,
It's strange that they made this choice.
Mostly because they left us a cliffhanger for 17 years and have not released it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember... you know what's interesting about this game? I cannot remember buying it, but I think, just so everyone knows, Nick and I are brothers. That's the Nick who's on this podcast currently. I can't remember buying this, but I think I bought it. I don't think you did.
I remember, actually, this is weird, considering now my unhealthy obsession with it. We saw this game advertised with another Game Boy Advance game that we bought. You guys remember, maybe if you're not as old as us, you don't remember this. Games used to have little advertisements in their game cartridges.
I don't even remember this.
This game was in there.
What?
I don't remember which game it was, but it was advertised in a previous Game Boy Advance game we bought.
Really?
Yes.
I have to find this out now.
Yes.
It wasn't like Final Fantasy Tactics?
It may have been something like that, but...
Golden Sun?
Might have been, yeah. I remember seeing it in there, and I was like, this looks okay. And you were actually pretty gung-ho about it.
I was pumped, okay.
Yeah, you were pumped, and you bought it. And I was like, you really want to buy that game? Okay, fine, I'll try it. 20 years later, I'm doing a podcast about how much I love this series.
Yeah. I know, I just... the only thing I can remember is, now I can't remember if I bought it on release day, but 2003 would have made me about 11 years old.
Yeah,
and
I was 12.
I remember playing this game, and I found this game keep in mind, I was 11 years old. It was really hard. Like, we'll talk about this, throughout the course of this podcast, but I remember, like, it was so brutal. Like, if your character dies, they're gone for the whole game, which is a trademark of the franchise. I have this very distinct memory of, I think we were over a relative's house and I was trying to play it and I could not get out of this like tutorial chapter. Florena kept dying or something like that. And I was 11. So like, I didn't get it.
Like, give us a break here.
I couldn't do it. But it's so interesting now where I remember I could not beat it. Like the first time I played it, I think you took it over and played through it or finished it. I think you finished it first. I can't really remember.
So fun fact.
Yes.
I got to the final chapter. I didn't train any of the lords and I thought I had to. So I restarted the whole game because they kept dying. And I thought, yeah. Nowadays, okay, I probably shouldn't have restarted it because you can clearly beat it without them.
You can beat it without it.
You can beat it without anybody, really.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But yeah, so I love this game. I replay it a lot. I've probably replayed this game, I don't know, 20 times, maybe more than that. Probably more than that. Whenever I'm on a flight for work or something,
I always blaze through this game.
Blaze through the game.
Blazing sword. Yeah, funny.
Yeah. So I'll always blaze through this game whenever I have free time, whenever I'm on a plane, whenever I'm traveling. It's just so easy to pick up and play. One of the best parts about it, especially this one and the other one in the Game Boy Advance, you don't even have to save.
Yeah, that's true.
You can just quit out.
You just quit and it suspends at the turn.
Fantastic. So, all right, let's get into the mechanics of this series a little bit. What's interesting is this series has been around for a long time, but the base game doesn't really change all that much. There's additions, subtractions, things made throughout every single game, but the core concept is the same. You have your group of little guys, you view a story segment, you prepare for the chapter, you go into the map, you throw them around the battlefield, you hope you win. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's a grid-based game. Mm-hmm. I guess it's not a real-time strategy game. You call it like an RPG strategy game, a turn-based strategy game.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're listening to this, you've most likely played this franchise. I remember being very into this franchise as a kid because I could not find a game like it. I guess the only comparison is Final Fantasy Tactics, and they're not that similar.
No, not really.
But games with classes and it's all percent based and it's on a grid. I could never really find one like that. What I really liked about this game, especially at 27 years old, we'll talk about this, but compared to like so many other games in the franchise, I thought it does a lot of things really well. By that I mean there are in this game more than others in the franchise. There are varied mission objectives. It's not always like defeat all monsters or enemies on the map. It's not always defeat boss. There's like escape, survive, rescue, defend.
Yep.
They did a really good job in this game with varying the objectives, and later games in the franchise I don't think did.
I agree. So that's probably why they brought this game here first.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I'm not to go back to Fire Emblem 6, but there weren't a whole lot of varied objectives in that game.
No.
So if they had brought that one over first, it may not have gone over so well.
Yeah, I mean, when this game was brought over, I mean, it had to have been a money thing. Like, why would you bring this one? It must have sold. I could bring up sales numbers from VG charts, but it must have sold well.
Probably.
Because it didn't correspond with any other marketing at the time. It just kind of came out.
Now, when we say sold well relative for this franchise.
Relative, yeah, we'll talk about that. Sold well
later.
For this game, which I feel like this is the franchise that like everyone's like, oh yeah, this franchise is good, and no one plays it and no one buys it.
Right.
Yeah, but
they just pirate them.
I mean, another thing about this game that I really liked was there's this. I feel like with this game more than any others in the franchise, there's this deeper level of how you not only recruit characters, but the interactions they have with each other. And I'm not really talking about like support conversations. I'm really talking about how, okay, like what was that level where I don't remember what the chapter is called. If you rescue these soldiers and then it unlocks a sub chapter where you can go to a port and get kanas.
But if you don't, the port of Baden.
Right. It really had these extra layers of like, if I do these what I really love about this, it doesn't tell you can rescue the soldiers in that chapter. You just can.
Yes.
Like Fire Emblem has really basic. Blue units are yours, red units are enemies, and green or yellow, depending on the game, is like a side unit or isn't controlled by either party. And what I thought was really neat is this game has a lot of maybe like hidden sub-objectives or that are not immediately obvious. I could be okay. I need to rescind this a little bit.
Okay.
I think a character in that chapter tells you the soldiers are exhausted. We should reach them as soon as possible.
Yes,
but the game doesn't
right.
tell you to do that. A character just says that. I think so.
And you can let them die without any consequence.
Right,
really.
right. It's not Isadora. Who's the healer on the horse?
Priscilla.
I think Priscilla says that to you.
I'm not exactly sure who says it, but because I know why you're thinking that, because Priscilla's involved in that chapter.
With Raven.
Yeah, exactly. It's another aspect of the franchise that's really cool.
Yeah.
Where you get to recruit enemy units, especially in this game.
I besides like some small aspects of like Tactics Ogre or Final Fantasy Tactics, sort of, I don't know any games where you can do this.
Yeah, recruit enemies right off the battlefield that are actual characters.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's super, I could talk about this a lot, where I remember like, it's a little bit aggravating, but because, okay, let's do it like this. There are certain enemy characters that it's obvious because they have names and they aren't a generic enemy unit, but you have characters in your team that can either talk to them or interact with them, and then they'll join your squad forever.
Yep.
What I thought a really cool thing figuring out was, I know how to get everybody now, but back then, like who has to talk to them? I remember some characters you can tell by like their hair color or what they look like that they're related.
It's a great thing to bring up because sometimes when it's not obvious, this game in particular, Fire Emblem 7, has the fortune teller.
Yes.
Where you can pay and then reset it so you get your money back and still know the tip.
Yeah, you can gum it.
You can pay and they can tell you some tips about the chapter. I'll never forget this one. She says, bring the flame-haired healer or the beautiful princess healer, something like that. And you're like, oh, okay. I guess that means the redhead on the horse.
Yeah.
And okay, so she's going to do something. So it gives you a little hint. Because if they didn't, I would argue that some of it is a little bit
It's too obtuse.
Yeah. Because how would you know? Okay, you would say, oh, Raven's got red hair. Oh, Priscilla's got red hair. They're probably related.
I'm just going to talk to him with everyone and just see what happens.
There's also an enemy unit. So
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's a really cool aspect of this game. And what I really like about this game as well, there's a lot about this one in particular. This is drawing very similar comparisons to when we talked about Resident Evil 1 and liked it a lot. What I really love about this game as well is certain characters in your party will talk to certain enemies and bosses in a unique way because they know them from the story. Yeah, which I think is super cool because the first 10 chapters are a tutorial with Lynn. Yeah. And the final, sort of the quote unquote final boss of the 10 chapters is that paladin guy. Who is it?
The general.
It's the general. Lundgren. That's right. And what I really like is if you talk to him with Lynn, she has a special conversation with him. If you just attack him with another one of your units who doesn't know him, you get a generic sort of text bubble. Yeah. But with Lynn or with Kent and Sane who also know him, they actually talk to him.
That's something that we'll get to this later. Some of the later games in the franchise kind of went away of that and was really disappointing.
It is.
Because it gets rid of that layer of personality, characterization.
You know what's, I'd like that you use that word. Something I don't think, you and I have talked about this game a lot before we decided to discuss it in a recorded format. I think a really important thing you just said is personality. I think this game has a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
And it's a big X factor with it's hard for me to say that, it's hard for me to be objective about why this game is better than other ones in the franchise because they're all good.
Right.
I think a big part of it is these little things where if I talk to these bosses with certain characters, they're going to have a unique conversation.
Right.
Dude, oh my God. I mean, we'll probably talk, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but one that really jumps out to me is way later in the game. We're not going to summarize too much here. We're just going to kind of go right for it.
Yep.
You have that little girl character, Nino, and there's a boss, I think is her brother.
Lloyd or Linus.
Lloyd or Linus. And then if you talk to him with Nino, I should say this, by talk, it means if you go into a battle screen with them, they'll say something. If I think I'm remembering this correctly, if you talk to them with Nino, they won't attack you for a turn. Is that right?
Yeah, so something really strange happens if you talk to let's say it's Lloyd.
Yeah.
You talk to Lloyd with Nino in that one chapter. He will not attack her, and he will move off the throne.
And let her take it?
You can't seize it. You do have to kill him anyway. You do have to kill him, but he will move off the throne, which is very interesting. I'm not really sure why they do that, but it's
a weird design choice, but I always thought that was so cool.
I know. It's a great part.
Where like, but also like, oh man, I'm going to talk about this a lot. Recruiting Nino is hard to do. Or no, you get her automatically.
You do.
But her chapter, it's hard to get all those characters who are relevant to the story to survive.
Yes.
Like Nino and Jafar and oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Can I jump into a little bit about how characters and the characterization really play a part in who you use?
Yeah.
Because you've never played one of these games before. How it is you can't use everybody.
Yeah.
You got a team, I don't know, you got like 20 something units, more depending on the game, but you can only put between 10 and 15 in every chapter.
Yeah, isn't the max like it's between what 8 and 14?
Something
it's
like
not that many.
Yeah, it's really not that many. So you have to pick and choose who you use, and this characterization, how they act, how they interact, it's one of the main reasons you pick characters. And I remember people ask me all the time, like, dude, who should I use? How do I make a team? And I once read, it might have actually been on the Fire Emblem subreddit.
Sure.
This exact topic was, how do you choose who to put on your team in a new Fire Emblem game? And the top comment, I'll never forget this, was, I just picked the pretty girls and the goofy guys and hope for the best. And I'm like, you know what? That's like not a bad way to go about things. Yeah.
I feel like it's half math and half like who do I like?
Right, exactly.
And this game, what I really like about 7 is I'm not talking on a mathematical basis, but on like I genuinely like most of the units or almost all of them.
That was one of the good aspects that I was going to bring up about this game. It's pretty balanced. You can use basically whoever you want. Yeah, obviously there's some units who are better.
Almost everyone.
But I'd say everybody is at least usable.
Yeah.
Because the game, now that we're older, the game is not that hard. So you can use basically everybody and you can still beat the game fairly, I don't want to say easily, but you can still beat the game.
Yeah, I feel like we should talk about it in the lens of if you're playing it for the first time.
Yeah. Playing a game for the first time, honestly, use whoever you want.
Yeah, really.
However, I do want to bring up one of the negatives in this game and other Game Boy Advance games, other Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem games, which is I really dislike the promotion system in these games.
Oh, where you need an item?
You need a specific item. The games always preach to you, hey, use whoever you want. You can use whoever you want. But wait a minute, you need class-specific items to promote them. I should maybe take a step back here. Promotion happens in this game. It's pretty much mandatory that your units promote, otherwise they become useless.
Yeah.
They start as at one class, then they promote using an item to another class. Pretty simple. Now, every single class has a certain item that they need to use to promote. And you find these interspersed throughout the game, find some more than others, and you find some more easily than others. Or a good example here, I'm going to use Dart, the pirate.
Yeah.
His promotion item is hidden in the sand in the desert chapter.
Oh my God! Yeah.
idea.
You're right. I'm glad you brought that up. Where like, I mean, I gush about this game a lot. You're right. There are some aspects to this game that are too obtuse.
Yeah.
Like you just brought that up. Like, how do you get I believe you can only promote him with that one item, right? You can't use an Earth Seal on him.
You cannot use it, which is really stupid. I don't know why.
I don't like that either.
Yeah.
Like, there's this level where you can find items in the sand in the desert, and I think the fortune guy tells you that. But here's the thing, but that chapter ends when all enemies are defeated, and I'll summarize here. There's a desert level where you can find items by walking over the square, but it's so hard to even find anything.
You don't know where they are.
You don't know where they are.
Yeah.
And so there's a promotion item for the pirate character in the sand, but you'd never find it. You're going to stumble on it in a playthrough.
Yeah, the fortune teller tells you, hey, there's stuff hidden in the sand. You might want to look for it. But the one part that sucks about this too, one, you don't know where they are. Two, it's not guaranteed that you get it.
Yeah.
It's based on your luck stat. But a thief will find it automatically. But how are you supposed to know that?
You're not. It's too obtuse.
Yeah. So I want to bring up, now that we're talking about things that are obtuse about this game, I'd like to bring out some things, like you said, a little too obtuse about this game. One is there's a lot of lore hidden behind very specific gates, and it's very annoying.
Like what?
So the main one, this requires a second playthrough, but to really know who one of the major villains is, you have to get Nils, the singer, to level 8 in Lynn's mode.
God, yeah,
which is
yeah.
absurdly stupid, and you have to defeat the magic seal.
That's right. There's sort
Doesn't
of
tell you this, by the way.
There's sort of this long string of side quests involving the magic seal, but we should talk about side quests in this game. I think that's another very obtuse aspect to this game. There are like, example, I don't know if this is the right chapter number. There's like chapter 8X, where like it's a sub chapter where number one, the game tells you they're optional. No, they're not. If you get it, just do it.
Just do it.
Why would
not?
you ever say no? They should just not allow that. But
Right.
anyway, to actually unlock some of these sub chapters is ridiculous. Like, why does Nils have to be level 8? Why does math get involved in the story? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there's nothing that hints that Nils has to be strong to get here, which is what really irks me.
It doesn't
about
make
that.
any sense. Irks, nice.
Nice one.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, but there are other chapters like that too, where like there's really, really obtuse math involved with unlocking a subchapter. Like, do you remember the one? I think it's the desert one, where you have to, like,
Oh, I know exactly which one
Hawkeye
you're
has to
talking
get
about.
a certain amount of experience points, or your characters
So-
can't be a certain level.
So that's what this is. So you have to get a certain amount of experience points between your whole team, which ordinarily you'd think, oh, I have to beat a whole chapter. That's fine. Oh no, Pent, Super Godly Sage, is also in this map as a green unit, NPC, not controlled by you. He's going to kill everything.
yeah, he's gonna kill him.
You have to fly someone over and rescue him and bring him over.
It's too hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even. It's hard, and it's also like, why?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why would you bother doing this? It really kind of sucks because there's a lot of really cool story aspects
There
behind
are.
behind the side quests.
All the side quests are good.
Yeah.
And like, I shouldn't even call them side quests, where the game calls them that. Number one, if you unlock it, they should make you do it.
Yeah.
And number two, like, only some of them make sense.
Right.
Like, example, earlier in the discussion, I was talking about there's that level where you have to rescue the soldiers and ravens in it,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. If you rescue the soldiers, you get the side quest.
Right.
With Port of Badon, you
Yep.
can get the only dark
character.
mage in the game.
Yep.
That makes some sense, where the game says, hey, these soldiers are tired, try to get after them.
Yeah,
and you do
which
it,
is
and you
fine.
get rewarded for it, which is
Right.
cool. It's fine.
Yep.
But these ones that are like, you have to level a certain, it's stupid.
It really doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make any
kind of
sense.
sucks. So
Yeah,
now that we're on the negatives,
it
I'm going to
does kinda suck.
bring up another negative
Yeah.
of this game. So I love support conversations.
Yeah.
They're really great for characterization. Getting them really sucks.
Yeah, it does.
So basically, it's really stupid. It's counterintuitive of how the game is meant to be played.
Yeah.
Because in this game in particular, it has a ranking system where you are ranked on how well you do, how many turns you use, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. To get support conversations, you have to have two characters who you're not sure if they're compatible yet.
Yeah.
Stand next to each other for some inordinate amount of turns and hope they get a support conversation. 'Cause
Yeah.
They're built up through turns. And by the way, you can't get more than one conversation per character per chapter.
Gotcha. So it's limited
yeah,
too.
It's limited.
So it's like the game really does not reward you for waiting
No.
in any chapter, but the game makes you wait to get support.
Yeah,
And
and-
the
go
thing
ahead.
about support conversations that I think, if people don't know, you get stat bonuses too from units knowing each other well and being
Yeah.
friendly with each other. But it's just I think it's just kind of contrary to how the game is played.
Yeah.
Where it's rare that you want to spend 80 turns playing a map. You want to do it in 2, 5, 10. You just want to get
Right.
it done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's strange.
Yeah, so but I will say, now that we're on the subject of support conversations, I do love these, and I think this game in particular did a really good job
Yeah.
with support conversations where, I won't say it, one of them involving a certain main character changes the ending, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
I won't say that here because it's a major spoiler, but
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool how it changes the whole ending of the game.
I agree. And you know what it is? I feel like we'll talk about this over the course of our discussions. I just think like, I don't know what it is. I just feel like support conversations throughout the franchise, they get too goofy or they get too like romanticized. And it's
Yep.
just, I'm not like that into them.
Yeah, so that's why I think this game did a pretty good job. And also, I'd like to say, while this game did a good job with the writing of the support conversations, I infinitely prefer the way they do it in later games where you talk in a base instead. Because, hear me out, it can really break the immersion with some of the conversations in
Yeah.
this game. So one of them in particular that I'm thinking, really big, bad story event happens to your main character. He's very sad.
Yeah.
Then you can get a support conversation with Hector, which is his best friend, in the next chapter where Ellawood's all sad.
Yeah.
And Hector goes, Ellawood, glad to see you're doing well.
Oh,
It's
yeah, so it doesn't make sense.
Oh, no, he's definitely not doing well. Sorry,
it's an
Hector.
oversight.
Yeah, so I like how they've brought them out of maps.
And it's in
future games.
like the intro screens.
Yeah,
the preparation screens.
Yeah, instead of doing it this way. But so I do love support conversations, but I think the way they're the way you gain them in this game really sucks, and how they can really break the immersion also kind of sucks. So another thing I want to talk about here is, you know what we haven't gotten into yet?
Yeah.
Some of the mechanics of the series, especially of this game, stuff like the weapon triangle, things like the magic triangle, that just really, they've changed a lot throughout the franchise.
You mean they've changed a lot throughout the when there's a new iteration, it changes a little. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember like as a kid, I being really into this, where you know, like swords beat axes and axes beat lances and lances beat swords and so on, and the different magic types were better against each other.
Yes.
And also like they kind of throw like a wrench into it, where like there were like lancer reavers and like reverse weapons.
Right. Yeah.
They had that sort of stuff too.
Yep.
And this is one of the games in the franchise that I thought just did it the best too, where I feel like the more they change the weapon triangle, like, I don't want to say the less I like it, but the more, it doesn't make it any better.
Yeah, it's interesting because we'll get to the game later. I think the mobile game actually did the weapon triangle the best out of every single game in the franchise. Because in these games, as you get further along, the weapon triangle starts to not matter, because your characters get so powerful that you really don't care about +5 or +10% to hit.
Yeah, you're right about that. Where I'm trying to think though.
In the beginning, though, and on harder difficulties,
it matters a lot. But dude, but even at the end of Fire Emblem 7, like when you have to do the final chapter, that stuff matters a little bit. Like it depends, I guess.
Yeah.
Depends how awesome you are at this game.
That's true.
You just beast anybody with anything. But
Right.
it gets especially glaring in later iterations in the franchise, where like my character is so over leveled and his stats are so out of control. It doesn't really matter what I hit somebody with.
So that brings up a really good point. How this game in particular, I think, all the games in the franchise tend to favor something different over the other. For example, there's characters have growth rates and characters have max stats.
Yeah.
Some games are really dependent on how a character maxes out. Some games are really dependent on how they grow.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think this game in particular, it's really about how they grow. You're not really going to hit too many of your maximum stats for every character. So it really depends on how your character grows. That influences how they perform
I was
in the
going to say,
game.
like, what I like about this game is it's one of the games in the franchise. Other games do it well in this franchise too. The stats are not through the roof. Like, you're not going to hit people for hundreds of damage.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm trying to think, like, it's rare in this game for me to, like, when you see 30s.
Yeah, 30 to 40.
It's a lot.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, but dude, I don't want to talk too much in the future, but these other games in the franchise, when you're critting people for 140, 180, I'm like,
it's a little crazy.
These numbers are out of control.
It gets a
this
little
game is
crazy.
more controlled.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Where, you know, if you try to like throw Lynn out against like a general, she's gonna clank him for 3 or 4 damage. Actually, it makes a little more sense.
Yeah, now that we're talking about that, I want to get into a little bit about the weapon availability and resources in this game.
Sure.
Because I'm a little torn on how this works. One, I really like the resource aspect, where if you get a rare weapon, okay, that's it. That's the rare weapon. You're not going to get another one, so you better not waste it, which means you're not going to use it till the final chapter, basically. I both like that in that, okay, I have to manage resources. I also don't like that because, well, how am I going to have some fun with these new weapons I got if I'm never going to use it? Some of these, oh boy, the legendary axe of ass kicking, 20 uses. Are you serious?
Yeah, I know. It's just, what I think about that is like, it has to just do with balancing, where, okay, like, okay, whatever, let's pick an example. Okay, you have Durandal or whatever. You're not going to use anything else once you have it. So, I mean, I understand, like, you have the cool weapon of cool weapon.
Right.
Like, but it's just, it fucks up the balancing of the game when, like, you're not going to use any other weapon and weapons are expensive. I guess I get it.
Yeah. I also want to say, speaking of weapons, really, this game probably did legendary weapons the worst.
In what way?
Because you get them all in the last chapter. You can't really use them.
That's true.
At all.
You don't really use them.
Which is
Although
really
it does feel epic, though.
It feels good.
It feels
thematically,
good.
though, you got a good point. Thematically, it feels great.
good.
But gameplay-wise, it doesn't really work all that well. But thematically, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you know what though? Can we talk about weapons for a second?
Yeah.
I actually love and hate this. I
Okay.
love and hate weapon levels in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Where, you know, every time you hit somebody with a weapon, you get a little bit of weapon experience. And to use a legendary weapon, you have to have S.
Right.
But you can't S multiple weapons. And, like, I think is really funny is, like, but if you accidentally, like, what's the word? Example, if your paladin A's 3 weapons, you can't use the best weapon in the game.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of strange the way that works, especially because in prior entries in the franchise and in future ones too, you can get S rank in multiple weapons.
Yeah.
I don't know why this game
also,
limits you.
I think this game, I also, you know what it is? I feel like I'm just complaining when maybe I shouldn't. It's actually pretty well balanced.
It is.
Because getting an S rank is hard.
Right.
And you have to really focus on it. But it's also like when you're playing the game for the first time, you wouldn't know to do that.
Right. Exactly. You have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. There's actually, now that you speak of balance, I want to bring up one other topic. This is going to be kind of a hot take in this game. I love this game dearly. I'm going to bring this up. I'm not going to say that I don't like this game. I love this game dearly. This is one of the wimpiest games in the franchise.
In what way?
It did nothing new for the franchise.
I mean, do you know what's so interesting, though, that you say that?
Yeah.
No one in America played them.
I know.
So it's like it did everything new to some people.
True, yeah.
But for some fans, it's the same game.
Yeah.
It's, you know what it is? That's really similar to the Demon Souls, Dark Souls conversation. Already, no one played Demon Souls.
Right.
So Dark Souls did everything right.
True.
No one played Fire Emblem. So Fire Emblem did everything right.
Yeah.
But if you're the people who played it already, you're going to say this is a copy pasted game and nothing is new.
Yeah.
It's an interesting debate. Where, I mean, it was my first Fire Emblem game.
Yep.
So I thought it did everything perfectly. But if you talk to somebody who's been playing it since the 90s, they'll be like, whatever. I don't know. I don't know anyone. I'm not friends with anyone who has played Fire Emblem in Japan since the 90s.
Right.
I don't know where I'm going to find somebody like that.
Right. So the only reason to bring that up is that is actually one of the main critiques of this game.
Really?
By hardcore
You're talking like on the
fans.
internet?
Yeah, like hardcore fans are just like, the consensus of this game is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it didn't really break any barriers. It didn't really do anything. It was just a solid, very balanced, well-made game in the franchise.
I mean,
which is not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
Especially when like some other games that we've talked about on this podcast that are horrendous.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, God forbid this game is just really good, and all of them are.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now that before we jump into other topics about this game, I really want to loop back into the characters and how they relate to permadeath as well.
Sure.
So I think because of the way permadeath works, if you're not familiar, if a character dies, they're gone for good.
Yeah.
Like they're just dead. You can never use them again.
Yeah.
And for somehow these games, every single one in the franchise are just like, it makes you feel really bad about killing these guys, especially because it mentions it in the epilogue. When you beat a game, all of the characters, they'll go through what they did after the war. Oh, but then you get to remember the 16-year-old boy who said he wanted to prove his dad wrong? The game tells you, you killed him. Nice job, asshole.
Dude, do you know what I remember? I remember this very clearly now that you brought this up. Do you remember, I think it was your first playthrough through the game, Urk died, and you feel so bad that you read everybody's epilogue and it says Urk buried at this chapter.
It's like, no.
It's like, oh, God.
Everyone else is getting married.
Yeah, I'm like,
lives.
this isn't on camera, but I'm like covering my face.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
And we didn't even get to when they die on the battlefield, they say something very sad.
Yeah,
when
they say something too.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like the turning point for you and I when we played video games. As soon as we read that, we're like, we're never letting anyone die in a game ever again.
I know, right? It's just God, I don't know how they pull at your heartstrings like that. These people don't even exist, but
I hated that.
Ugh.
That really made me sad.
All right, so before we get into like closing thoughts and all that, I wanted to bring up because these games are all about the characters, they're all about the chapters. I wanted to bring up some of our favorite characters and favorite chapters from these games.
Yeah.
So I'll start it off with some of my favorite characters we already mentioned. I love Urk.
Yeah, I do too.
I love Urk, the little mage you get. I love his relationship with Sarah, the little annoying healer.
Yeah.
I also really enjoy Hector.
Yeah, I do too.
So, give me Hector and Smash, you fucking cowards. They never will.
They never will.
They'll never will.
They really should.
They should.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, I've wanted that for a while.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, I love Urk. I love his intro conversation with Sarah when she's just like, oh, Urk, it's good to see you. And he just says, oh, Sarah, you're the last person I ever wanted to see. And she says, oh, that's so sweet. You wanted to see me again.
Oh my God.
I love that conversation.
Do you know what's funny? Similar, but the opposite. Do you know what I really... Do you know what's interesting? These aren't even my favorite characters, but this is another little thing that this game does that's so good.
Right.
Okay, Pent and Louise.
That's
if
right.
Pent dies, Louise will also leave.
That's right.
And
You're
the
right.
other way around, if Louise dies, Pent will leave your party.
That's right.
And I'm like, dude, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's these little things that you might
Great
think
one.
don't matter, but you're like, I'm going to let Louise go. Pent's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And but favorite chapters, favorite characters.
So favorite chapter, this is going to come out of left field for me, by the way. I have a couple of favorites here. Battle Before Dawn is obviously a fantastic chapter. But I'm going to bring up one that you probably don't even remember.
Go ahead.
Crazed Beast. You remember that chapter?
What is Crazed Beast?
So Crazed Beast is Hector mode only.
Okay.
And you're basically in the center of a group of islands, and you have to capture each point. Yeah.
Wait a minute. So this is Hector mode only, but I've beaten Hector's mode.
You probably don't even remember this chapter.
I don't even remember this.
You recruit Farina, the last Pegasus Knight, by using money.
That's right. You buy her.
You buy her. She's a mercenary. That's what we mean. She's a mercenary.
She's a mercenary. Yeah.
But you have to capture 3 locations guarded by some bosses. And they introduce a new Black Fang member.
Who?
His name is Pascal.
Oh, that's right.
He's called the Crazed Beast.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Also, you know what that also reiterates? They did a good job of throwing new objectives at you and trusting you can do it. Or new objectives, I mean, very different.
Yes, very
Are there any
objectives.
other chapters in the game where you have to control different points?
No, I don't think so. Not that I can
No,
remember.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Best chapters and best characters. All of them. But,
I know, right?
dude, Dude, Battle Before Dawn is the best.
That's a great chapter. It pissed me off as a kid.
Oh, yeah. I was going to
man.
say, as a kid, you and I went, ugh, Battle Before Dawn.
Yeah, let's talk about Battle Before Dawn for a minute here.
It's the best chapter.
When you go to recruit Nino, she's a shitty little mage who has to survive the whole thing.
Yep.
Jafar is on the other side fighting people off. You go too far down. Oh, there's Ursula with bolting. Yep.
Oh,
and by the way, it's dark. You can't see anything.
And you have to rescue in 10 turns.
Yeah.
It's like, I love this chapter because there's like 8 things you have to do and you have to plan it so well.
And you get the rescue staff in the chapter.
Yes.
So if you're planning on using that, you have to get it from the chest and make sure the thief doesn't run away with it.
So good. Like, I remember I'm always so proud of myself when I play this chapter perfectly because like I'm always like, you got to get Nino.
Yep.
Then Jafar is taking all the enemies down in the bottom of the map.
Yep.
You got to either rescue Jafar or bait him up to you so Nino talks to him. And then you don't have to kill Ursula, but you got to get either into Zephyr's room or rescue him or else it's game over. The objective is to rescue the prince.
Right.
But there are like 4 billion other things you can do in this chapter.
And of course you unlock the side quest.
You unlock the side quest too if you do all of this stuff. It's just, this chapter,
it's a great chapter.
It's awesome.
It's a fantastic
Do you know what I also
chapter.
really love? I actually think the last chapter in the game is really good. Where, you know what it is? It's one of these chapters where, like, even though I've beaten the game a lot, my heart still pumps a little bit when I go to light and I have to do it. Because, you know, all the toughest bosses in the game get respawned as essentially zombies, right? Like morphs.
Yeah.
They're like clones.
Yeah.
It's like Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones.
but the good version.
Oh my God. Just making me think of Denning as like the leader of the clone army.
Yeah, I really feel like this is, just so everyone knows, this is the better version of Attack of the Clones. It's this one.
Yeah. We can talk about that later. The Star Wars references in Fire Emblem, but keep going.
Oh, God. I mean, but this chapter is really good. I remember, like, when you get to the last chapter, here's the thing. We've beaten this a bunch of times. If you've never beaten this is not easy.
This is a hard chapter.
Yeah, like all these bosses are in souped up forms that you've beaten before, and they all come at you at once. Like, the doors open after a couple of turns. Like, if you don't kill the bosses fast enough, they'll all come at you at once.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Yes. You can also fuck with it by like opening the doors yourself, which is really funny.
That's a big balls move to open them yourself.
It's like, fuck you, I'm coming in.
That's like a Nick strategy. You open the door yourself.
Now, one of my favorite things to do is save all the special staffs, like rescue and warp, and just like warp my guys all over the place and just see what order I can do it in without dying.
Oh my God.
It's pretty fun.
Oh, I think is super cool is you also get Athos for free.
Yeah.
It's, you know, that super story relevant mage guy.
Yep.
Where like, even if your characters aren't that good, you can still do it.
Yeah, because he gives you Athos. He can hold his own in the chapter. He can't beat the whole thing for you, but he can do pretty well.
He can do it. And what I think is awesome, do what I love about this game too? Yeah. You don't fight any monsters in the game until the final boss.
Dude, were you reading my notes?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I didn't read them at all. Yes, we prepare for these podcasts. There are notes. So what I loved about this is like, there are no monsters in the game. They're all people. Yep. And then the final boss is a dragon.
Yeah.
So you're just like, it's like mind blowing where you kind of have to like, it's not like you have to throw your tactics out the window, but you really have to be careful because the dragon does what, 37 automatically?
39 on hard mode.
Jesus.
I don't know don't ask me how I remember these numbers. I've played this game a lot.
So he does a set amount of damage to a set amount of squares.
Yep.
And like only certain characters with the right weapons are good enough to even damage him.
Yeah, fuck you, Elwood. I hate Durandal.
I do too. Makes you slower.
Yeah.
Anyway, but whatever. I think it's super cool how like, you know, you get all the way, all these bosses, it's super hard, and then the dragon comes out and you're just like, oh fuck.
Yeah, because if you die to the dragon, do the whole thing over again.
I remember, dude. I watched you do this as a kid. You and I were discussing how are we going to do this. I said, pass the elixir back.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. You keep elixiring Athos
Athos
and you attack the dragon on counters.
Yeah, you can do that. There's a lot because you also heal the healer who's doing it. Oh, by the way, people with bolting are surrounding you with the long range magic.
Berserk.
Yeah, and Berserk too. Oh yeah, that's always fun.
This game is not that easy, especially when you're 12.
No. I consider it an accomplishment to beat this game when we were 11 or 12 years old. Yeah.
Oh my god. So we should get to final thoughts here.
I was going to get to closing thoughts too. There's one aspect of all these games that I wanted to bring up. I think the soundtrack of every single Fire Emblem game is fantastic.
Yeah, this one's really good too.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Do you know who the composer is?
No.
There's actually a lot of them who work on this. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Ray Kondo and Yuka. Oh boy. Suyoko.
Yeah.
Those are the two main composers throughout the franchise.
Yeah.
They have done a fantastic job with the soundtrack.
Have they done every game?
There's been a different team on every game, but those two have appeared in every single one.
Okay. Yeah. Do you know what? Underrated.
They also do Paper Mario.
Oh, right on. Rest in peace.
Yep.
Rest in peace. Honestly, underrated composing duo.
Yes.
Because you don't hear about this franchise. Well, no one hears about this franchise for any reason.
Right. So why would you know about the composer?
Why would you know about the composer? It's just like, at some point I want to talk about the Quest 64 soundtrack, but we're never going to do that.
Of course. Right. Yeah. Because you have the Final Fantasy composer, Uematsu. Everybody knows him.
And you have Koji Kondo and all these people.
Everyone knows these people.
But people don't know the two dudes at Intelligent System.
Yeah, who do a very good job with the soundtrack in this franchise. I'm going to get more into soundtrack as you get throughout the games because there's a lot of interesting things that they start to do that they don't do in this game, which I really like.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get to some final thoughts here.
Yeah, final thoughts.
So, can we talk about Renault for a second?
Yeah,
you remember Renault?
Yeah, the healer you can get late.
The late healer, you get him in the penultimate chapter.
Yeah.
And you notice he has really shitty magic stats for being a magic unit.
Yeah,
so it's really strange. And so he has opportunities to get 3 support conversations.
Yes.
Because technically the final chapter is 2 parts. So you can get a support conversation against the dragon.
Really?
Yeah, that's how
I
you're
didn't
supposed
even
to do
know
this.
this.
Yeah, that's how you're supposed. So that's why this guy is very interesting. You have to bring him along, and you can only get to A support with one character using this guy. So you find out about how he used to be a mercenary.
Yeah.
How his friend was the magic seal.
Oh.
Yeah.
It all ties together.
You find out, he's the guy who killed Lucius's parents.
Jesus.
And Lucius forgives him because
Wow.
Lucius is a good boy.
Wow.
It's a really interesting character.
Wow.
Yeah, I just spoiled all that, but you're never going to see it.
No, I always thought of him as just if you suck and all your healers are dead, here's one.
No, well, that's probably gameplay-wise, that's why he's there, but
Yeah.
that's why he has the shitty magic stats. Because if you look at his character art, he's pretty built for a priest.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell's up with this guy?
Yeah.
Fun fact, you see him the first time you go to the Dread Isle in chapter 18.
Yeah, you
in the
do. You
house.
do meet him earlier.
Yeah, and then you don't recruit him till later. He's a very interesting character.
He talks to Nurgle as well, doesn't he? Am I wrong?
So yes, kind of. He'll talk. There's in the hidden side quest you get.
Yeah.
It's hinted that he is the one who Nurgle's talking to about how he revived his friends.
Oh,
His
gotcha.
friend is the magic seal.
Wow.
Yep.
Dude, this game is so fucking good.
You know what sucks? One thing that sucks about it,
Yeah.
because it's the magic seal and he steals all magic, you can never make Renault attack the magic seal. You can never get their conversation.
You never quite get it.
It never quite explicitly tells you.
Yeah.
But that's what it's inferred to be.
Yeah.
The last point that I want to make is the Dragon's Gate.
Yeah.
So, the Dragon's Gate is the thing in this game. Nurgle wants to call the dragons through the Dragon's Gate.
Yeah.
You know where he's calling them from?
Where?
You know where the Dragon's Gate links to?
No.
It's never explicitly stated, but it's surmised that it's actually toward Marth's world, where all these dragons walk around.
Oh, where they're also keeping Mega Man Legends 3 on
Yes, it's also they're also keeping Mega Man Legends 3 in the Dragon's Gate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the more interesting point about this game, that the Dragon's Gate, they say it's linked to another world. What other Fire Emblem world has dragons walking around? It's Marth's world.
Marth's world.
So it's inferred that that's where he's trying to bring the dragons from.
Interesting.
Which is a very interesting aspect of the game.
Wow. Man, this game is so good.
Yeah.
What I think is so awesome about even this conversation about this game is this is like a cute little sprite grid game.
Yeah,
and
I know, right?
Like, it's not like you're probably picturing all these epic fights. It's literally like sprites on squares.
Yeah, like Urk is like 15 years old.
Yeah, like you don't do anything. Like you trot around on squares.
Right.
But there's what I love.
Fantastic.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And what I think my final thought on this game is, it really made me just get a taste for turn-based strategy games, grid-based games, and I still cannot really find them. There are not that many.
No.
And it really just, it was such a, I don't even know why, if it was by chance or by money that they chose to release this one first. It's so good. My final I wish my final thought was more objective other than like, it's ready, we'll just roll it off.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is awesome. The characters are awesome. The game is balls hard. It's really challenging. Everything about this game is good.
And the plot's actually pretty good too. It's not like, I mean, if you're going to play games with really strong, like if you play Chrono Trigger and then this game, you're like, well, this story sucks, but it's fine.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's serviceable.
Yeah.
You know what I think is cool about the story of this game before we move on to Sacred Stones?
Yeah.
I think even though the main plot is it's not goofy, but it's a little bit crazy fantasy plot.
Yeah.
The side stuff and the characters are very good.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like to point out about this series, that the main plots are almost never something to write home about, but it really is all the characters, their interactions, how they talk to each other.
Especially this one.
Yeah, there's a few games where it does it really, really well.
Yeah.
And that really, it makes the games worth playing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
It also doesn't help that you can skip the story right from the onset in this game.
Yeah, whatever. Blah, 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 dragons, blah, 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 next.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll go blah, 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 next, and we'll go right into Sacred Stones.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sacred Stones was the other Game Boy Advance game that came after Fire Emblem 7. This is technically 8.
Yes.
I remember being in 8th grade, I think, when this game came out.
Right.
So I actually didn't know it came out.
Sounds like a theme for this series.
Oh God, yeah. We should really just put that in the description. You don't know this series, and no one never knows when they come out.
But by the way, it's good.
It's really good. So, what I remember about this game, I mean, I don't remember this game in retrospect being as significant as 7. I remember this game. I remember liking it.
Yeah.
I actually, I haven't played this game too recently. I think I spun through it maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. So, when I first got this game, I always thought of it as the inferior Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance. I still kind of think that, but it's really grown on me.
Too.
Yeah, it's really grown on me throughout the years. I did another playthrough of it. I play through all these games all the time, just when I'm bored, because this game happens to be pretty short comparatively, so you can kind of blitz through it. I played this game probably fairly recently, probably a few months ago. I was probably on a plane or something. And I may have just not been, it actually might be a theme for the other game too. I might have just not been old enough or mature enough to really understand some of the plot
people
elements.
Can't see, but I'm nodding.
Yeah. So I really think especially the plot of this game, is extremely mature.
Yeah.
And it's really grown on me over time. I can't say I like it more than the other one.
I don't either.
I can't. It's just, honestly, objectively, I don't think it's as good. But this game really has grown on me throughout the years.
I would say the same. Where the thing about this game is, like, there are a couple of, I should back up. Kind of going on your point there, where I was maybe too young for this game.
Yeah.
I was too young for both of these.
Same. Yeah.
At some point in further episodes, we'll talk about games maybe in sort of the mid 2000s that maybe the stories were better than I gave them credit for because I was too little.
Yeah.
Like, we'll off topic only briefly, like BioShock and things like that. I didn't get it.
Right, yeah.
But with Sacred Stones, what I remember about this game not liking, it was really, I feel like the first time as a kid where I thought a game was too easy was you can grind in this game and you can level up there's like bonus experience, or let me say this. There are ways to get experience outside of main chapters.
The Lagdu Ruins, the Tower of Valny.
Which is not in 7.
Right.
And something we actually didn't bring up in 7 that I really like is that experience points are limited.
That's true.
And it's limited by, these are the chapters, you can't go back, this is it.
Yep.
But in Sacred Stones, there are ways to supplement your party, which I don't really like.
Yeah, let's get into that, because this game, to us in the US anyway, they introduced a world map.
Yeah.
You don't go chapter by chapter, you travel along a world map to get to the next chapters. So that means there's not as much consequence.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to Fire Emblem 7 a lot, because that game's really good. But in Fire Emblem 7, if you see a shop on a map, you better go to it if you need some weapons, because you don't know
you can't go back.
Yeah, you don't know the next time you're going to see a shop.
Yep.
In 8, oh, hey, I kind of need more swords. Oh, I'm just going to backtrack on the map to go to the shop I visited at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot easier. I mean, yeah, convenience is nice.
I don't consider it a quality of life improvement.
That's true.
Not really. You know what? It is, but it takes away some of what the game is.
It does. It does.
Where it's like, you know what? And this trend continues throughout the franchise. Let me just go back to the shop whenever. It's all right.
Yeah, I know.
But like, when you it's okay to compare this game to 7, because at the time, these were the only ones in the United States. Yeah. You have nothing else to compare them to.
Right.
That trend continued where... like, okay, I can just backtrack on the map. I want to get more experience. I want to buy more weapons. I need to fix or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it kind of continues.
They've made a conscious effort to make the games easier, and I think it started with this game.
Yeah, and it's something I actually don't like.
Yeah, me neither. Now that I'm older and better at these games, I'd prefer if they were a little harder. Let's just start with some of the development, maybe the concept, some other features of this game. They're different, better or worse than 7. So we talked about the world map, where you kind of just lets you grind, kind of just do whatever you want on there. One of my biggest gripes against this game, didn't really do anything new. No, they didn't fix anything. Promotion items are still the same.
I forgot about that.
Still the same.
It's the same, right?
They had to have known that was a problem, and they didn't fix it. I will say though, this game did a little bit better in making some of the items more available.
Oh, okay.
But it's still the same thing. It still says, "Hey, you use who you want." By the way, you can't.
Yeah, you
It's
can't.
still that kind of thing, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, but you know what? I want to bring up a feature that I actually do like about this game.
Sure.
I really like branching promotion paths where, let's say, so in most games, and we'll do the other Game Boy Advance game here.
Yeah.
Where if you promote your Cavalier, he goes to a Paladin. That's just
Yeah.
what it is. If you promote your Cavalier in Sacred Stones, you can choose. Do they become a Great Knight?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Heavily armored, can use swords, lances, and axes? Or do you put him as a Paladin who just use swords and lances,
Paladin.
has more speed? I mean, it's usually Paladin. But yeah, if you can't tell, you value movement more than anything in these games.
Yeah.
But
let me quote you. You don't actually need stats.
no,
you
you
just
don't
need
really.
to move.
You need to move pretty far. That's all you really need.
But no, I mean, you're right. I remember something that is cool about this game, at least in retro. I should say, let me bring myself back to 2005.
Yeah.
It was cool how you had a choice of what you wanted to make your guy.
Yeah.
Where, in 7, you know what? You know what's cool about this? They're both cool. Like,
Yeah.
in 7, you had to be a paladin. In this game, you can choose, but you don't have endless options. Hey, which one do you want?
Right,
It's
right.
cool. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't mind it.
No.
What were some of the other ones? Were there any others besides paladin and great
Oh,
knight?
there's a ton.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you were a priest, you can either be a sage or a bishop.
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty big choice.
If you're a troubadour, it could be a mage knight or
Ooh.
or the oh shoot, I'm forgetting what they call the Valkyrie.
Valkyrie.
For Wyvern Riders, you can either be a Wyvern Knight, which is an exclusive class to Sacred Stones, or you can be a Wyvern Lord.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other ones.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean that's cool. I mean,
Yeah. Wyvern Knights are just better, which is stupid.
yeah, I mean, we can talk with some inherent balancing. We're like,
Yeah.
no, dude, this paladins are just better.
It's just better,
So yeah,
sorry.
thanks for adding in these features that no one uses.
yeah, basically.
yeah, but what I do remember about this game, which is very different from 7,
Yeah.
kind of transported myself back to just the Game Boy ones. You fight monsters on every map.
Yes.
Or every
Most of them.
Most
Monsters
of them.
are a
They're
big
like
part of the
spiders and zombies and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not all people.
Right.
Which is very different. Which, you know what? I don't. Here's the thing. I want to reiterate, all of these games are good.
Yeah.
And even when I dump on one of them, I still like it.
Yeah.
I actually think it's inherently worse than 7, just because it was very special to me in 7, where there are no monsters, and then the final boss is like, oh shit.
Oh boy. Okay.
Oh, but in this game, it's like, oh yeah, I fought spiders before. I fought them in the second map.
Yeah,
like it's
fine.
whatever. I can do it. It's fine.
I think sometimes they add a little interesting twist to the game. Like there's one map where you're fighting humans, and they're like, "Oh shit, spiders come from the mountains. They're gonna eat the townspeople. You got to save them."
Yeah, that's cool.
That makes it a little interesting. But there's some maps where later in the game where you learn that one of the enemy generals can command the monsters, so monsters are fighting alongside people against you, which I think is kind of stupid.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid. It's also like kind of video gamey.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. You can control monsters. Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go stand next to this giant spider because he's on my team.
Yeah, that's so
That
stupid.
doesn't make much sense.
I'm gonna go
to me,
heal
honestly.
this spider.
Yeah,
That's so dumb.
the stupid big spider. All right, so another thing that I don't use them all that often, but I think it's a nice little choice. You have trainee units in this game.
Oh my god, yes, you had the little Donald? Was Donald his name?
Donald's an awakening, but
Who's the
This is-
little farmer guy?
it's Ross.
Ross. Oh, it's the
Ross.
little axe guy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Ross, Amelia, and Ewan
Yes.
are in this game.
Yes.
Yeah, where they can promote twice.
Yes.
They promote from their little trainee class into a regular base class. For example, Ross can promote into a fighter
Yes,
or a
that's
pirate.
right. I remember Ewan too.
Yeah, Ewan's the little mage.
Little mage. That was so sick.
Yeah, I mean,
it was cool.
Mostly because this game, allows you to grind. Obviously, they're usable. If you don't grind, these characters are basically worthless,
Yeah.
except for Ross, because he comes pretty early.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't do a very good job balancing these three.
Uh-oh.
Ross, I think they babied him a lot. So they give you Ross pretty early into the game where he's obviously weaker than everybody else, but he can still do something. He has a special throwing axe.
Oh, that's right.
Which is lighter than every weapon. It's also like pretty damn good to use throughout the game.
I mean, I feel like they're just doing the sort of, hey, we put in this new feature, you should use it.
Right.
Yeah.
But then when you get Amelia, she doesn't have that.
No.
She's basically worse or the same as when Ross joined you, about 10 maps later.
Yeah.
Just has a slim lance, can't really do a whole lot, and will probably die in one hit.
Right.
So she's not as easily usable. I remember when I've wanted to use Amelia, I would go into the Tower of Valny, one of the maps where you can grind, put a bunch of weaponless units, and just make a physical wall, just have her throw javelins at people.
God.
That's how I would train her.
It almost incentivizes grinding, which
does.
that is not a part of these games for
No.
me, and that's what I do not like.
Because like the games really aren't about getting it grinding and just beating everything with brute strength. They're supposed to use a little bit of strategy
Or a lot,
depending on what you have to do.
I agree.
Yeah, it's like I've done this before, where if you go through this game without grinding, I'm not saying it's hard, but some of the maps will give you a little bit of challenge if you don't grind at all. But the option's there, and it's so easy to grind up 4 or 5 levels just to beat a map.
Yeah, and I just you know what it does? I tend to not like that.
Yeah.
But it does give me that little bit of that gamer itch of, let me try something out. Let me level this guy up and see if I like him.
Right.
I guess it makes it a little, I don't want to say more fun. It makes it a little bit more, it scratches that very specific gamer itch, but it's inherently not as engaging.
Yeah.
You know what? Because it feels too video gamey.
I know. It really does.
Where I think what's really great about 7 is I never talked about how much of a video game it was.
No,
this game I do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, part of it's just this game is easy. You can grind, and you start with one of the most OP characters in Fire Emblem history, Seth.
Yeah.
Who can basically solo the entire game.
He's like the
really
good Marcus, right?
Yeah, basically.
Marcus isn't bad either, but
basically, if Marcus wasn't balanced, you have Seth.
Yeah.
Who's just incredibly overpowered.
Yeah.
That's kind of a theme of this game. Every character you get's kind of overpowered.
And that
We can
stays
make them
throughout the
overpowered.
franchise, dude.
I know. It's very unfortunate. However, okay, I want to say one thing. This game is smaller than a lot of the games in the series, and they did trim down the cast to do it,
They did.
which I think is a nice touch.
Yeah.
I don't want to say balanced. This game isn't very well balanced, but I want to say they did make the cast smaller. It's a very close-knit group of characters, and there's not a lot of duplicates.
Yeah,
which is
okay.
nice.
There aren't a lot of like generic cavaliers.
Yeah, exactly. I think they did a pretty good job in that regard, and because of that, you can use a good amount of the cast. Your first run through, you get a lot of the support conversation, which, by the way, they also didn't fix. They're also the exact same way, which really irks me.
Yeah.
No.
Every time you say irks, we're going to look at each other.
We're going to do that the entire podcast. But I do want to say, I do enjoy some of the characters in this game a lot. Like what you were saying in 7 about how they'd have the boss conversations.
Yeah.
Hands down, one of my favorite conversations in the franchise is when Joshua talks to Kelach, the hero.
Yeah, go ahead.
They have that multi-line conversation. Kelach murders Joshua's mom. By the way, spoiler, sorry.
Yeah, whatever.
Murders Joshua's mom.
Yeah.
So Joshua goes over and you get to fight him in one map. And apparently they used to be teammates as mercenaries.
Yeah.
Kelach is like, Joshua, it's good to see you. And Joshua's like, hey man, yeah, good to see you too. And they're shooting the shit a little bit.
Yeah.
Then Joshua says, hey Kelach. He's like, yeah, what's up? You killed my mom, didn't you? He says, hey man, sorry, that's business.
Oh.
And Joshua's like, well, by the way,
Now it's
I'm the prince of
personal.
this land. I'm about to kick your ass.
Yeah.
And there we go. I thought that was
It's a
extremely
good one. It's a
well
personal
done.
one, just like the Nino one.
Yeah. And this one goes on for like a couple minutes too. If you ever want to look it up on YouTube, which I
pretty
highly
long.
recommend you guys do, it's a couple minute conversation. And it's honestly some of the best writing in this franchise in that conversation.
They did
I
a
really
good job
love
with the
that.
localization too.
Yeah, I really love that conversation.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Can we branching off that a little bit?
Yeah.
I want to go into some of the maps that we
Yeah,
really like.
sure.
Because that map I really liked.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to step back a little bit. I thought the maps in this game were extremely well done.
You like the maps in this
however,
game?
there weren't as many
Yeah.
as in other games, but I thought a lot of them were extremely well done.
Yeah.
There's a lot of varied mission objectives like the other one, which is great.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of maps, they did some different things. Like the one chapter I was just talking about is called Scorched Sand.
Yes.
Where there's 2 bosses,
Oh,
opposite
yeah.
corners of the map.
Yeah, I remember
You have
this.
Valter on one side, you have Kelach on the other. It's a desert map. And you actually are kind of on the clock here, depending on which route you do. Oh my god, I didn't even mention that.
Yeah.
The routes.
The routes. I thought when you said branching, you were going to make a pun there. But
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah,
But either way, yeah. I guess I should go back a little bit and say this is the first game in the West to have branching paths.
Yeah.
Where you choose which lord you want to follow for a little part of the game.
Yeah.
And they go to some different chapters.
Ephraim and
Erica.
Erica.
Yeah. So you follow them, and the chapters they get are different, which is nice. So it does encourage multiple playthroughs of the game.
It's not just like remixed versions of both. They're different.
You still can recruit the same characters.
Yeah.
In most of them anyway. But the chapters are all different, and it also when they reunite, the chapters they come back in are a little bit different too.
Yeah.
So like, for example, if you're with Erica, in that chapter I was talking about Scorched Sand, you start at the top near Johanna Castle and everything's rushing at you.
Yeah.
If you're playing as Ephraim, you start on the bottom left of the map because he's trying to save Erica.
Oh, okay.
So you got to get up there.
So they did they thought this out.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of the maps did this, and I thought they did a really nice job.
I think, that also really goes back to the little touches where the story makes sense.
Right.
Where, if he's trying to come after her, he's going to start at a different section.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing, speaking of characters and maps, this game actually did something that not a lot of the games in this franchise have done.
Yeah.
Which is a character that you play as becomes an enemy.
What,
do you remember this?
What character is it?
Oh, Orson.
Oh, that's
do you remember
right.
Him? Yeah, the paladin betrays you in chapter 5.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you use him in a chapter. You can level him up. You can give him stuff.
Yeah.
And he just runs away with it because he betrays you.
That's crazy. I forgot about that.
And he becomes a boss much later on.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting aspect.
Wait, I don't think I'm going to be correct.
Uh-oh.
If you kill the boss, you get your stuff back?
No, but you can have Orson give like Ephraim all of his items and you just get it, which is nice. Yeah. But otherwise, you can leave with all your shit.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a very interesting aspect of this game.
That's true. No one does that.
Yeah, not a whole lot in the series.
No, it's always the other way around.
Yeah.
That's
very
cool.
interesting. So that's kind of why I like the map design and the character integration. I thought they did a really good job in this game.
Yeah.
Speaking of characters, I want to bring up the 4 Grotto Generals as well.
Sure.
So every game in the series is basically the same way. There's a big bad, and they have 4 people who are below them.
Yeah.
And they all represent something. There's always the crazy one. There's always the honorable one. There's always the one who's secretly stronger than the final boss.
Yeah.
And there's another one who's kind of a wild card.
Yeah, the swordmaster who crits you.
Sorry.
It makes you do it again.
Right. And the one who dies off screen.
Yeah.
That's basically
the one who dies off screen.
Yeah, that's basically how it works.
Yeah.
I actually really like the way they did it. We didn't mention the Black Fang of the other game. I like them too, but I really like the dynamic that the 4 generals have in this game. The crazy ass Volter, comparatively to the stoic Glenn who dies off screen.
That's really funny. They didn't program it.
Right, he just dies off screen.
That's really funny.
Yeah, but I thought they did the characters really well. They did the maps really well, and I'm not saying it was better than Fire Emblem 7, but honestly, I'm very impressed with how they did this.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't think this game is better than Fire Emblem 7. I don't want to go too far yet.
Yeah.
This game was developed concurrently to the Gamecube one, is that right?
That is correct.
I just have a feeling that they just, this game also has big asset reuse.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty much the same game.
Yep. Different color palette. Gotta give them that.
Different color palette. I gotta think that's a reason why these deep mechanics were not changed.
Probably.
Because the big console, well, it's not really the console debut, it's the console debut for America,
right,
was being developed concurrently.
Yeah.
And this had to have been a resource management thing.
Yeah.
It had to have been.
I agree. So before we get into like closing thoughts or anything like that, I want to talk about the soundtrack again. I actually really like the soundtrack of Sacred Stones.
Yeah.
I think some of the tracks are flat out better
Really?
than the other Game Boy. I love that boss theme with the electric guitar at the beginning. I love that.
They did a good job.
That's a great...
It's probably a MIDI electric guitar.
That's what I mean. It's a MIDI electric guitar. But
probably. It's the same duo, right?
Yeah, I think that I've been reading that a lot of composers have worked on these games, but these two have pretty much been mainstays throughout the franchise.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Something that before we get into final thoughts, do you know what? It could be just a matter of last time I played this game, I think was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think the cast is as endearing in general as 7. Not really. Like the only thing I can kind of remember is you have Seth, who's kind of your Marcus.
Yeah.
And then I remember like Ephraim as a character. I do know I remember. I really like you brought this up before, the baby units.
Yeah.
Like we'll call them the baby units,
the babies,
but the recruit units.
Yeah.
They were cool. But I don't really. it doesn't have what this game really doesn't have, I think, in terms of what 7 had.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't have the if Louise dies, Pen goes with you.
Yeah, you don't really have
goes with
anything
you.
like
Don't
that.
have that.
No.
You don't have there's the cool conversation between is it Kelach is how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I think so.
You have that, which is cool. It's like
Yeah.
the Nino one. Do you know what you don't really have in this game either? You don't have that one chapter where like you have to save Nino and Jafar and
No.
someone shooting bolting and you got to save a prince and you got to do it in 8 turns. They don't really have that.
No, not really.
It doesn't quite have that X factor, sort of star into what makes it so good.
Yeah.
It's just one of these. It's a strategy game on a grid. I like it. I mean,
it's fine. It's a good
It's
game.
fine. I
Yeah.
like it. I mean, do you have final thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think they did the lords and their weapons better than 7 did.
Yeah.
So Ephraim is more so known for having a spear and being one of the only foot spear units that's not an armored knight.
That's true.
In the series, which is pretty cool. I thought 7 really dropped the ball on the lords.
In what way?
Where they made 2 of them use swords and 1 use axes. They had the perfect opportunity to make the weapon triangle.
I don't know why they didn't do that.
I don't know why they didn't do it either. It's a very strange design choice, mostly because Lynn was retconned.
Well, then again, I
but-
guess Elwood becomes a lance user.
Yeah,
But
yeah, but you know what I mean.
yeah, you don't. You're right though. You have the weapon triangle. It's reiterated all over the game, and then
do
the
it.
lords don't do it.
Yeah, which is
Kinda
very
weird.
very odd.
It's a very strange
It's very
choice.
odd that they did that, and I thought that they did a nice job of it in Sacred Stones.
Yeah.
where Ephraim had the lances and Erica had the swords.
Yeah.
They did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
but. Other than that, there's some things about this game that you probably forgot about or didn't know.
Yeah.
This game probably has the most expansive post game of any Fire Emblem.
Oh,
It has
that's
the creature
true.
campaign.
That's true. You have I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, you have the creature campaign where it actually gives you unlockable characters if you complete the ruins.
Yeah.
Which are, some of them get really hard, actually. You can recruit, like, Leon is recruitable
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
do
yeah,
the
yeah.
ruins, stuff like that. We didn't really mention Leon at all, but
Yeah.
I thought they did him really well.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Where in Fire Emblem 7, there is no post game.
No post-game
There
at
isn't
all.
any. Well, I guess you technically unlock Hector.
You unlock Hector mode for a new game plus. I'm
Ish.
doing air quotes right now.
Yeah, ish.
There's some differences.
Yeah, that's
but-
right though. So like 8 has a little bit of a post game, which is cool.
Yeah, so we can I actually kind of like this, where if you get the member card throughout the game, you can access the secret shops in the post game, where you can buy stat ups.
Yeah.
You can buy a bunch of stuff to just really soup up your characters and just have a go at these secret ruins chapters.
That's true.
Which is
that's
really cool
neat.
aspect.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else for this game.
One last thought.
Yeah, please.
One last thought. Here's some interesting trivia.
Yeah.
Remember the 3DS Ambassador program?
Yeah.
Sacred Stones is one of those games.
Really?
Yeah. So anyone who bought the 3DS before the price drop,
Yeah.
they got a bunch of free
I
Game Boy
always
Advance
forget
games.
there was a time where the 3DS was struggling.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and they gave everyone who bought it before the price drop free Game Boy Advance games. Sacred Stones was one of them.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty
Right
neat,
on. Thank
neat
you,
aspect.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Nintendo.
Yeah, but that's it. That's all I've got for this game.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it for episode 1. We're going to move on to GameCube next, but thank you, Nick. Well done, sir.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, good work.